Hi, everybody. Dr. Nicholas Thomas here. I'd like to welcome you to the Hospitality Spirit Podcast, hosted by the School of Hospitality Leadership in downtown Chicago, recorded live at the Treehouse College of Business. I'm so excited today to be joined by Ashvin Lad, co-founder of Breakwater Chicago, LLC. Ashvin has been a great supporter of the School of Hospitality Leadership, and I'm so excited that he's taking time out of his busy schedule to sit down with us today to talk about a variety of topics. As always, I encourage you to follow us on all of our social media feeds posted in the description. Ashvin, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nick. Appreciate it being here.
So Ashvin, like I do with most guests on the podcast, I'd really like to just start out with a very brief background, your professional background. Give the audience a nice overview of who you are and how you got to where you are today. It's been a really interesting road, lots of different directions that you've taken. How did you get to where you are today? Yeah,
it's a good question. You know, some people try and climb the corporate ladder. I do the career pivot and try new things every now and then. I started out as a biomedical engineer. I was designing healthcare products, some implants. I got one patent on that, which I was pretty excited about. I then transitioned after business school to financial services, marketing prepaid debit cards, and do some business development, sales, and client relations. I then went into government, which is actually the only thing I always thought I'd be doing at some point in life was government. Worked for the Illinois State Treasurer for a while, doing a lot of economic development for the state of Illinois. And then I found myself at Breakwater, being an entrepreneur in hospitality. So I really believe in transferable skills. I think it's the same set of golf clubs, just a different golf course. And I think you can apply your people management and your skill sets in different industries, which I've been able to do successfully, thankfully.
You know, it's interesting that those transferable skills, we talk about that a lot in hospitality and tourism, and we'll kind of get into hospitality and tourism later. Particularly, we'll briefly touch on Breakwater and some other themes, but you know, maybe what are some of those transferables? Because you talk about people skills. What are some of those common skills that you've had to really rely upon throughout your careers, be it in government, in the medical field, and the finance sector, and now at Breakwater?
I would say the one common denominator in everything I've done so far has been, I would say, pseudo sales, pseudo client relations. It's always been interpersonal skills, whether it be selling an idea internally, selling an idea externally, or working with a customer, whether it be a physician or a surgeon or a bank or an elected official, to take their idea and make it reality, to help meet their needs. It's all about meeting needs and solving problems in any type of business you're in. And that's kind of the one commonality I've been able to utilize was sales/client relations and even problem solving and product development.
I come across a lot of people that, you know, there are so many different segments of business that people go into, and you and I have known each other for, almost 7-8 years. I mean, we've known each other for a long time since I got to Chicago, and one of the things that's always interested me about you is your passion for government. How did you kind of go down that government route? I mean, that's always, and you're still very passionate about civics and government. I mean, where did that interest come from? Is that something that you've always had a passion for? Do you still see yourself in that realm?
A couple questions there, but I think it all started being born and raised in Springfield, Illinois. When you're born in the state capital, Lincoln's home, you're surrounded by everything Lincoln, everything government. My parents were public servants for the state of Illinois. When you're surrounded by that and you grew up with that, it's just kind of in your DNA at some point. And I always knew I enjoy service in any respect, whether it be public service or even hospitality, providing a warm, touchy-feeling, good experience for people. Whether it be solving problems or giving them a good experience. I took that realm and that notion in undergrad, became student body president. In business school, I was class president. I just love serving people, and it really came from my love of Lincoln and my inspiration of Lincoln, everything he did. Again, when you're in Springfield, that's all you hear about, and it's not a bad thing by any means. Do I want to do it in the future? It's as we've discussed in the past, it's kind of a political climate or toxic climate these days. I'm not sure if anybody wants to be a part of that. I love the idea of serving, and I would love to serve at some point, but the idea of getting there, that process of getting there, i.e. campaigning and slinging mud, it's not really in me. So it's something that I got to really think about long term. But first things first is Breakwater.
It's interesting. I've never. I mean, I guess I kind of have. There's almost a parallel between the idea of serving people in a political capacity, your constituents, and the hospitality industry. I mean, it's the act of serving is kind of the same. I mean, that's when people talk to me, they say, "Why did you get into the hospitality industry?" It's never monotonous, it's never boring. You get to travel the world and see lots of cool things, but to me, it's the act of service. I really genuinely love helping people achieve whatever their objectives are and whatever their goals are. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I really enjoy being an educator now as well. And I've said in other podcasts, and people say, "Do you miss the hospitality industry?" And I say, no, I'm kind of still in it. I'm still serving people and helping people, and so that's exciting. I've always admired that about you, your passion for politics, and it's an exciting. It's fun to follow things that really have an impact on your life, and everyone should have a say, and being able to be involved in that is important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't think people actually realize how important civics is until it affects them directly, and that's when they started getting more and more involved into it. Fortunately for me, nothing affected me personally to get involved, but I really think more people will get involved in it because all politics is local, and we can do a lot of great change here at the local level. I know there's a lot going on federally and internationally, but Chicago's got good opportunities right now to solve some good problems, and we have good people and good talent to do that.
And the hospitality and tourism industry is not immune from that. I mean, just locally here, there are hospitality and tourism regulatory issues that impact operators in virtually every segment of the industry that we need to be familiar with. And the best operators really have an understanding of that. It's why we teach law class. It's why we teach those kind of current events in the classes that we focus on.
Yeah, it's not even operators. Even look at the CVBs around the state. A lot of their funding is dependent on the state government. And we looked at it with maybe 2 years ago with the budget crisis. Chicago and a lot of their CVBs were hurting financially, had to lay people off. So it affects people in this industry and a lot of industries as well. Again, people don't realize it until it affects them directly.
So tell me a little bit about, I know about it, but for those listening that aren't familiar with it, let's touch a little bit on Breakwater.
Sure.
So what is Breakwater? Tell me a little bit about it.
Breakwater is our plan to provide an entertainment destination for Lake Michigan. It'll provide enhanced access for boaters and provide access to non-boaters. We've got a great harbor system, a great boating community. We have 6,000 boat slips in Chicago Harbor, more than Miami, more than San Diego. But what we're lacking is destinations. People stay in their boat, in their slip all day, call that boating. Or they go in circles all day and call that boating. Or they go to the playpen, anchor down there, and call that boating. If you go to Michigan, the other side of the lake, people will start in one harbor town, have breakfast. They'll sail to another harbor town, dock up, have lunch. Sail to another harbor town, dock up, have dinner, and come back home. Or if you're in L.A., you sail to Catalina Island, you dock up, have a nice steak dinner, glass of wine, watch the sunset, and sail back. They have destinations. We don't have that in Chicago, and that's what we're trying to provide to enhance access to the lake, even for non-boaters as well. I don't have a boat, but I love the lake, I love the water, and I love the skyline view that the lake provides for us out there. And now at Breakwater, and with combination with the water taxis, we can go out there as a non-boater and enjoy the waterways, enjoy our skyline view from out that vantage point.
So it's part of this trend that we're seeing now in the industry, the hospitality and tourism industry, of really constantly innovating, coming up with new products, exciting things that may exist other places, but looking at a destination and seeing what gaps exist in the market and coming up with something to fill that gap, because there clearly is the demand for it. I mean, as you said, 6,000 slips here in Chicago. I mean, anybody that's gone to the Air and Water Show, I mean, any summer here in Chicago, it's that's what people are doing. So that's great. So part of that, you're starting something from scratch. So essentially, what you are now is you're an entrepreneur. I mean, what is that like? I mean, we have here in the College of Business, the Driehaus College of Business, we have a lot of students that are entrepreneurs. Tell me about that. I mean, it seems on one hand it's a really stressful thing to be an entrepreneur, to start something from scratch. Part of it seems like it's an incredibly rewarding experience because you're your own boss, you're in control of it. I mean, what is that like to be an entrepreneur in today's climate and here in Chicago?
I don't even know where to begin with that because there's a lot I can talk about being an entrepreneur. And I'll say the first thing is I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I never dreamed of being an entrepreneur. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was always risk averse, and leaving a stable 9-to-5 job with great benefits, great income, to really going to no benefits, very little income. It was scary. And I know right now it's kind of cool and trendy to be an entrepreneur. There's a lot of celebrity entrepreneurs. You've got athletes and celebrities want to be an entrepreneur on the side, and they're doing a good job of that. It's exciting. It's rewarding. It'll be even more rewarding once we're launched. But right now, it's been fantastic only from the standpoint of, like to your point earlier, I'm now like in charge. My partner and I are kind of set our own destiny, and that includes our schedule. My past jobs, was working nonstop, traveling a lot, had little downtime. And I know it goes against what people think of an entrepreneur or what even an entrepreneur thinks of themselves. But I've found more time for myself now as an entrepreneur. People think that entrepreneurs should be working 24/7 or 23 hours a day at least, morning, noon, and night. Everything they do is about their business. I'm not that way. I've found ways to still get the job done, but now you're able to manage your own schedule. You can make that free time. I don't want to just build a business. I want to build a life as well, and I don't want to sacrifice my life for whatever is 3, 4, 5 years to build this business at the expense of just building a business.
Did you come into being an entrepreneur with that mindset, or is that something that that sort of work-life balance you developed through trial and error? Oh, I mean, that's a very insightful way to look at it. I mean, that kind of goes counter to what a lot of the people would perceive an entrepreneur to be. Where did that sort of foresight come from?
I would say yes, trial and error, but also came to, I mentioned earlier that I was always risk averse. I was very rigid in my thinking, rigid in how I act and how I behaved. And I think we've discussed this before. I had cancer almost 19 years ago. I was diagnosed October of 99. And my birthday is January 1st. And a couple things there was, one, it was kind of a life-changing thing because you're forced to leave your comfort zone. You're used to knowing what to expect. You do your research. You know what's going to come, what may not happen. But with cancer, you have no idea what's going to happen to you, and so you're forced to leave that box that you're so used to being in and rolling with the punches. So that was one thing. Two, New Year's Eve of the millennium. This was the biggest party of the year worldwide. Everybody was celebrating, going from 99 to 2000. And it's my birthday, January 1st. I was going to celebrate with the best of them. We had a group of friends and I, we had a nice 15-bedroom home on the beach down in Florida. We were going to go celebrate for a week. Well, didn't happen. I had cancer, and I was stuck in bed watching the whole world from Tokyo all the way west to New York and Chicago ringing the New Year. And I told myself that moment, I am not going to miss out on another good opportunity. I'm going to enjoy life to its fullest. I'm going to travel the world, experience as much as I can, meet as many people as I can, see as much as I can, and eat as much as I can with the hospitality focus here. And that's what really did it. And so the jobs I had there, I was still able to find time for myself. It wasn't as easy. While I traveled a lot, I would carve out time to go sightseeing or try new things, but I was still kind of doing it in the realm of work. But now as an entrepreneur, again, I can focus on my own schedule. It's really about what we need to do, and I can control that. And I'm not going to let anything slide. We'll still do the work, at home on the couch or on weekends. But if I can find time to play around in golf on an afternoon on a Wednesday with some friends, I'm going to do that. But I'll make up that time from work, missing work, that night or on the weekend, or get up early the next day and take care of it. But again, I'm not going to sacrifice me building a life for building a business.
Mm-hmm. What is Chicago like as a city to be an entrepreneur in?
It's fantastic. People want to look at the coast. They want to look at Boston. They want to look at Silicon Valley, even Austin. But Chicago's got a great pedigree right now. We've got a lot of great companies, a lot of great exits, a lot of great success stories that have all happened here in the technology space and the bio-life space in the past probably 10 years. And with 1871 having now launched, going from 5 years now, it's a great hotbed for entrepreneurs and startups, especially in the tech and digital space. We're getting a lot of good VCs in here, coming in from the coast, setting up offices to try to find new opportunities. So there's a lot of money flowing in to startups to support that, support in job creation. And the support from the community, whether it be from VCs or whether it be from call it public affairs or from elected officials supporting us to give us the resources that we need, whether it be access to capital or putting on workshops on how to start a business or how to get your idea to the market or how to set up a company. It's been very good to see because now if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you have your own idea, the resources are there in Chicago and Illinois for that matter, from Champaign to Rock Island. Any university town has got a good hub to incubate your business and your ideas in. But Chicago, it's really all started here in Illinois.
So there's probably some students listening to this podcast that are, maybe high school students, freshmen, sophomores here at DePaul that are maybe just starting out into the down the road of wanting to be an entrepreneur that maybe aren't familiar with 1871. Could you talk a little bit about what that is and because you've been at 1871 for quite a while and have really kind of embraced that experience. What is 1871 for those that don't know?
Yeah, 1871 is an incubator in the true sense of the form. So it's a co-working space, but it's meant for startup companies. You have to be a company to be a member. You can't just be an individual. So you have an idea, you want some working space, come to an 1871. You go through a little interview process, you get accepted, and now you're part of the community. And what 1871 offers you is a good network with other entrepreneurs who are starting their business from scratch. It provides you mentors for different topics, whether it be legal or finance or fundraising, even health and wellness these days. It's been fantastic to see those kind of mentors come in. Provide you with workshops, 90-minute workshops, people from industry coming in, teaching you about product development or marketing or branding. Pick a topic. There's a mentor coming in there to talk to you one-on-one or giving a workshop on that. It's been great for networking for us. It's been great for collaboration, idea sharing, introductions to other investors in the space in Chicago or in other parts of the state or the country. They were recently named late last year as the #1 incubator in the world, which has been fantastic. And for Breakwater, we're not tech or digital, which is the majority of the members there are, but we are entrepreneurs. And for us, we have the halo effect of being members there. So people don't think of us as developers or real estate people, that we are truly entrepreneurs. And knowing that we're part of that community, we're kind of like my partner and I are kind of like the diversity people there. I mean, we're the old people there, and I've been there 4 years out of 5 years I've been in existence. It's a great avenue to come in, and I know for your students, now's the time to look. I think they're having an intern fair coming up here pretty soon for people who want to join a startup company for the summer to come by and take a look at the different opportunities there. And this past weekend, we hosted Campus 1871.
I saw it. It looked wonderful.
It was fantastic. And I was actually a judge for the first couple of years they did that, seeing all the great ideas coming in from students from DePaul, Loyola, UFC, Northwestern, and then I think this year they even included downstate schools like even University of Illinois in Springfield, which has been fantastic. So you get all these students together. They have ideas. They figure out which ideas they want to pursue. They work in collaborative teams, and then they pitch their ideas over a weekend to a group of judges who are themselves entrepreneurs.
One of the things, Ashvin, that I've really enjoyed kind of watching and following over the last couple of years is your involvement in the School of Hospitality Leadership. I remember initially you came in kind of just as a guest speaker, and then you kind of came in as a judge, and you would have students come down to Breakwater at 1871. And this last semester, it seems like that engagement has really been taken up a notch. You don't have to go into a lot of detail because we would be here much longer, but what's kind of your thinking in why that kind of collaboration is important. What do you get out of collaborating with students? And I mean, I know why collaborating with industry is important, but I'm really interested to hear from an industry standpoint what you get out of collaborating with students in an environment over because it truly was a semester-long project. I mean, the whole semester, I mean, every single week, there was somebody related to Breakwater in the class doing something.
Yeah, it's been a fun experience, and to your point, it's evolved over the past, I think, 4 years now, where it was just me coming in for a class or two and then coming in for a few classes to talk about Breakwater in the context of the syllabus for that week, to now going through every aspect of Breakwater with the industry partner talking about it from their aspect and their vantage point. It's been really fantastic. And for a collaboration standpoint, I state as a few reasons. You can probably bucket them into call it a personal one, a business one, and a community one. From a community standpoint, you always want to make sure the hospitality pie is a certain amount, and you want to grow it every generation. And in order to continue to make sure that the hospitality industry in Chicago maintains and grows, you need the next group of leaders coming in who are knowledgeable, who know what they're doing, have the experience and the vision to get things done in the industry. And if we can help with that, whether it be enhancing their network by us coming in to speak to them, enhancing their knowledge base by giving them new ideas and new insights on how to do new developments, that helps the industry as a whole and the community as a whole moving forward. From a business standpoint, I think it's a great tool to recruit people down the road. I come in for a few classes. I get an idea of the talent in the class. I know who I want to hire down the road based on my interaction with them, what ideas they have in class, how much are they participating in class, what's the conversation, the dialogue like, what's their thought process like. You're seeing that firsthand in real time. It's even better than an interview because you're seeing them on the fly. And then from a personal standpoint, and this is kind of funny for me coming in as a lecturer, but I learn from them as well. The classes I'm doing, they're graduate level classes. They're people who have degrees, who are working full time in the industry, who have that experience and can bring that experience to the classroom. And so when I'm talking about a certain topic, and somebody has a suggestion or a thought or idea, and I question it, I'm not questioning to challenge them. I'm questioning to learn more for myself. And being part of that collaborative effort has helped me personally become more intelligent about the space and hospitality from a customer standpoint, from a development standpoint. I would say a great example of just the last class when they did their presentations. For the past several years, we've been talking to different event marketers and event salespeople on how they price event space. Nobody could give us a straight answer. It was more art than science. They would just kind of say, oh, that's what my predecessor picked out for the numbers. That's what we think. That's what fits the numbers, or that's what you've kind of backed into. But there was never a science behind it. It was always an art. And in one of the presentations, there was a student who was giving their take on how we should price events at Breakwater. And he kind of went through the math and, da-da-da-da-da, here's what they come up with for a buyout. And I was like, how do you come up with that number? It's like, oh, here's my benchmark. Here's what we do per square footage. Here's what we do per guest. We kind of put the two together, and here's our number. And I had never seen it that way before until that time. And it was my aha moment after weeks and weeks and weeks that I was able to get – I had a bunch of takeaways, but that was probably the number one takeaway is that, okay, there is a science behind pricing event space.
Yeah. It's interesting because I love to hear that because it's – so much of what we do in academia is we try to bridge this gap that we have this kind of gap or this gap between this bucket of industry and over here we have academia. And it always seems there's this cavern between the two. And so much of what we do is to try to fill in that cavern or create some sort of bridge between the two because we all have the same objective. We all want the hospitality industry to be successful. The industry is there in the trenches right now. We in academia are trying to prepare the future leaders who are going to be in those trenches someday. And we're trying to conduct the research to help those people in the trenches do their job more effectively. So anything that we can do to get you into the classroom like that, these are wonderful stories, and they're so impactful. And I know you got a lot out of it, and believe me when I say I know the students got a lot out of it as well.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So in the last, we don't have too much time left, but I know you are a diehard Chicago Cubs fan, and one of the. I've had I've been very fortunate to attend some Cubs games with you and sit in your section, but I also just kind of see you randomly in other sections. Like you're kind of very, very mobile around Wrigley, but you're also very, very active in going when the Cubs are on the road. You go to spring training, but you're very active in going to other sporting events. And I'm curious what impact and what role you think kind of sports has on a town like Chicago. I mean, when I moved here about 8 years ago, I had not lived in a city where sports really had such a huge influence. And from a hospitality and tourism standpoint, it's tremendous. I mean, how do you foresee that? I mean, what sort of impact do you see sports have on a town like this?
Well, there's a couple ways to look at it. One, from the town itself, is we are a sports town. We love our sports. We have the Bears, Sox, Cubs, Bulls, Blackhawks, Fire, the Red Stars, the Sky. You pick a team. We love our sports. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. I think food and sports are what the city's about, and hospitality touches both of those. I mean, or both those touch hospitality. It goes both ways. We'd love to be able to brag about our sports teams in other cities, to our friends in other cities around the world, that we have the best baseball team, the best basketball teams, the best football teams. I mean, not these days, but in general we do. And it's a big driver for tourism as well. You're getting these road fans coming in for a game at Wrigley Field. They're going to bring in their fans from, whether it be Cincinnati, especially St. Louis, even down from Milwaukee. Interleague play will bring people from New York and Boston. It helps the community in Chicago, helps the neighborhood in Wrigleyville because it brings more people in, buying things, puts more people in seats, more heads in beds. You see the numbers really going up. And for me, and I don't know if we talked about this now, but I actually freelance for a magazine called Stadium Journey. And it's a publication meant for people who travel to see sporting events.
Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah.
So I go around and I will review and do write-ups on different arenas or stadiums, whether it be a minor league stadium or a large stadium like Wrigley Field. But it's for people who traveled for sports. Sports is part of hospitality. It's part of tourism. It's a big driving force for bringing people into Chicago. Even ancillary, look at South Bend, Notre Dame. Georgia came in, played Notre Dame last fall. A lot of fans from Georgia came in. That same weekend, the Falcons were playing the Bears. So here you have people from Georgia coming in to see their Bulldogs play Notre Dame an hour and a half away, and then staying the weekend to see their Falcons play the Bears. How much money did that bring in from the state of Georgia into Chicago? Don't know, but it was a lot. And then you're seeing hospitality playing a role in sports and vice versa, just from food and beverage standpoints. You're done seeing arenas and stadiums doing the cookie-cutter hot dogs, burgers, pizza, and beer. You're now seeing fans' love of local entrees and cuisine making its way into arenas and sporting events. You're seeing hot dogs at Wrigley Field. You're seeing think of Big Stars over at United Center. You're seeing a lot of these local fairs coming in locally. And I think it started out on the East Coast with Washington and New York, where you had your Shake Shacks going into the ballpark. You had your I'm losing my train of thought. Another burger joint going up in D.C. as well. But you're seeing that kind of coexisting together, food and beverage and sports together.
I think what it all comes down to, and I've talked about this on other podcasts, is I think when you look at the big picture, when you look at holistically all the variables, when you look at it from a hotel standpoint, an entertainment standpoint, a dining standpoint, retail standpoint, I think Chicago is probably right up there as one of the best hospitality and tourism towns out there. I really do. I mean, everything. The transportation system is incredibly It's easy to understand. It's easy to kind of get around. We really do have a lot going for us. It really is a strong city. If you've had the chance to go around to other places, I think different cities around the U.S. and around the world, maybe in one variable might have a stronger play. But when you look at it holistically, I think Chicago's right up there. I really do.
I would put it, and I'm obviously biased, but I've traveled these other cities and around the world, around the country. I would put it number one. We've got the attractions. We have the great hotels, affordable hotels and five-star hotels. We've got the great restaurants, great chefs, great neighborhood cuisine, the sports teams. Now, I know New York, San Fran, Atlanta, LA, they can all say the same thing. We have attractions, hotels, sports teams. But what they're missing is that Midwestern hospitality itself, the attitude, the welcoming feature that we have, the warmth we provide customers and guests. I can't think of that many restaurants in Chicago that are still have strict dress codes. I mean, we welcome anybody who wants to come in and dine with us in a very welcoming atmosphere. Come in wearing jeans and sneakers to a high-end restaurant. Come on in, enjoy a meal. You don't have that in New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles anymore. That's a Chicago thing. That's a Midwestern thing. So we actually have the hospitality in hospitality, unlike these other cities.
You might say we have the hospitality spirit.
Boom.
That's it.
Yeah.
And on that note, Ashvin, it was really nice to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much. This was a very insightful conversation. I think we learned a lot about you. We learned a lot about what it means to be an entrepreneur. We learned a lot about a great new hospitality product coming on the scene here shortly called Breakwater. Live from the Driehaus College of Business in downtown Chicago, hosted by the School of Hospitality Leadership. I'm Dr. Nick Thomas. Thank you so much for listening to The Hospitality Spirit.